It's been a while, back in nature, away from the hustle and bustle. Now, I had a look at my video, which is interesting because you get a new perspective on things, and I realised I make a big mistake that I'm not really illustrating something. So I've just found a mirror, and also I'm just walking down an ancient trackway, so God knows how old these things are, but over the centuries, people walking up and down here driving their cattle maybe have worn out the path so that on either side you have high banks. And so I'm walking the footprints of people from centuries, and I know on the old maps that down there is the confluence of seven different paths, most of which are now, I think, closed because this is owned by a bunch of fascists. But look at that, centuries of people. So I'm going to go up here, I think, not that it really matters. This is this ground, it's old sand from the bottom of a shallow sea, so I understand. There's ancient history in there. But let's find a bluebell so I can continue that. Here we go. Okay, so before, there I was trying to explain, or at least exploring, the whole process of vision. Allow me to clear that. Exploring the whole process of vision, and how the idea that there's somebody seeing is not true. So as usual, I've not prepared this, but let me do that video again, but this time I want to be clear about something. So the weird thing is that I can watch this video back, and so I wonder who that person who's going to watch it back is, because it's clearly not me, because I am here looking at real bluebells and a woodland and birds singing. So there's this weird middle space between things being different, I'm clearly not that bluebell, and things being the same, as in, am I the same person in the future who's going to look at this video back? Well, in a sense, yes. But in reality, no, because I am right here and I'm looking at a bluebell and I'm making a video. In the future, I'll be watching a video, so I'm clearly not the person making it. However, there is this strange connection. So Buddhism, for example, looks at it like a river. But it's the same river, well, Heraclitus as well. It's the same river in the sense that it's a river, but it's constantly changing and moving. So in one sense, it's not the same river, but in another sense it is. So the nearest river here is a river called the Darent. So that river's been there for centuries. You can see it on maps. Historians talk about it. It was there in the Roman times. But the river's not the same river every day because it's moving. So there's this strange thing that we can't really capture with language, that things have a name, and that name doesn't change, but the thing that it names does. So we have the crazy situation of I've got a name which will be the same name as the person who watches this video, and yet clearly the me that's doing this video is right here making the video, and the one who's going to watch it in the future is different. Same name, same river, but a different load of water. So it's the vase is the same, but the stuff in it has changed. So this is really weird. It's very basic, but also you can't grasp it, because to grasp it requires sticking it in a bucket or in a jug or giving it a name. And the idea that the stuff inside that name is different is just a little strange. But We're very familiar with it to the extent that right here, right now, I'm living it. I'm living whatever this crazy mess of a person and a situation is. And that is not going down on tape, which is the other strange thing. Because obviously what goes down on tape is fixed, it's permanent, and I can watch it back. So the bit that's going on tape is not the same as the situation I'm in. And that's, I was trying to say that in one of the other videos, that the presence, what we could casually call the existing that we have is only ever here and now, and it can't go onto tape, because what goes onto tape is permanent, and in order to be permanent, it's no longer flowing. So it's not the living thing, which maybe Jesus was talking about when he talks about a living God, that we get fixated on the labels, literally the labels of our clothes, labels of our name, reputations, achievements, and these are all fixed, whereas the living is an ongoing thing. Anyway, that's not what I came to talk about. I came to talk about the self, and I haven't prepared this, so let me just do that other thing again. But where I got it wrong is that if you look at me looking at this bluebell, the bit I got wrong is that obviously the camera is only one perspective, and the camera, when I do that thing where I go, now this is what I'm seeing, well, really I need a second camera so that you can see what I'm seeing, because wherever I point this camera is what you're seeing. You can't see what I'm seeing. So if I had a second camera and I could edit to it, then maybe you could see what I'm seeing, which you can sort of do with a mirror. So I've got instead of having a second camera, I've got a mirror. So now, how many bluebells have we got? So we've got your bluebell that you're seeing. We've got the bluebell that the mirror's kind of seeing, that perspective. And we've got me, the one that I'm seeing as well. So they're all images. The real bluebell, and this is kind of a bit philosophy, but the real bluebell, this thing that's growing, is changing all the time, and you can't capture this in images. The light coming off it is just an image of it, but the living growing thing is something else. And that's the problem with film. We live in an age of media, but the stuff in the film isn't real, which just can get a bit confusing, because we see a picture of ourselves and we go, oh look, that's me, but it's not you. You are the one watching it. Right, and then let's go into that, because that's the thing I was to say. So now, from your perspective, looking at this situation, you can see the bluebell, and you can see this gap, and you can see me, you can see my eye. And so what we understand is that light comes off the bluebell, goes through this space, goes to my eye, into my neurons, well, my neurons activate, and stuff happens in my brain, and then I go, oh look, I can see a bluebell. Okay, that can all be observed. And the same thing's actually, from my perspective, I can see the same thing happening for you. So light comes off the bluebell, goes through this space to the camera, then it gets recorded, and at some time in the future gets played, and then effectively, not the same light, but the machine has been caused to record things in a way that it can then trigger the light again. So new light sets off from the screen into your eye, and then you get the same thing going on as I'm getting on. But there's a big difference between our perspectives here, because you can see the light, the gap from here to here, and I can't see that gap. Because, and this is the point, I am seeing the light. So I don't see the gap, I don't see the light, because the light is what I'm seeing. Whereas you, yeah, I mean, the same is true, but when you think about my perspective, you can kind of see the gap, and you can analyze this from a third person perspective. And you can say, here's a flower, here's a gap, here's an eye, here's a brain, and you can look at all this scientifically, and you can say, somewhere in there is the this guy, Alva, is seeing the bluebell. But for me, I don't have that perspective, because that whole process of bluebell, space, light, eye, brain becomes the bluebell. So I don't have a position outside where I can look at it and go, oh look, I'm looking at a bluebell. I am just looking at a bluebell. There is just the bluebell. So this is the issue. When we think about ourselves looking at a bluebell, we look at it from a third person perspective. So we like to think, I am looking at a bluebell. Now you can see that I'm looking at a bluebell, but I can't, because me seeing a bluebell is a bluebell. You know, for there to be a bluebell there, I've got to see it, right? So when there's a bluebell sitting in front of me like there is now, that is because I am seeing it. It is being seen. That, the thing that I'm looking at, is seeing a bluebell. And so this third person perspective we put in, on top of seeing the bluebell, of I am seeing the bluebell, which is your perspective, because you can see that I'm seeing the bluebell. But I can't see that I'm seeing the bluebell, because me seeing the bluebell is the bluebell. That idea that I'm looking at a bluebell, that third person perspective that I stick into the situation, is that exactly, I stick it into the situation. So in actual fact, this is where Eastern philosophy is very accurate. The idea that I am seeing the bluebell is stuck in afterwards. So there's no one seeing the bluebell, because the bluebell is seeing. And then the idea that I am seeing it is very, very sneakily stuck in on top, which takes a lot of mental observation and careful study to perceive, because it's very, very quick. Which I'm still recording. Yeah. So that's the thing I wasn't making clear before, this idea of the two perspectives. The perspective that you've got watching this video is a third person perspective. You can watch me seeing a bluebell. You have the luxury of being outside this experience, because you've got your own one. You're not seeing the gap from here to here, because the gap from here to here is part of your process of seeing. You know, if that gap's shut down, there's a bluebell disappears. The seeing stops. So you don't see this gap, because this gap is covered by the light and links this real object that's growing here with the real brain that's watching this video. And that whole process of linking this and the brain together creates the vision, the image of the bluebell. And let's be clear, it's an image. It's not an actual bluebell. And we're taking the mirror again.